so far in Bayelsa State and see if we can actually replicate this in other states of the Federation?
I think it makes perfect sense that when you do this events like this, when we talk about Nigeria is made up of 36 states of the Federation. When people come to invest, they go to the states to invest. So it's important that we put a lot of emphasis on the state as well. I am particularly delighted that this has been done by Bayelsa State. I think all the states should follow this example. But it gives them the opportunity to showcase investment opportunities at the state level and how the investment climate as well. You heard the governor speak today, you heard the chief judge of Bayelsa speak today, and you could see that the investment climate is robust enough to attract any kind of investment. And more importantly, the big and important thing about Bayelsa is that they have all the raw materials you need. They account for at least 30% of the country's oil production, which means that you can go from crude oil, refinery, and all that. In terms of gas, they supply about 53% of NLA gives gas, which means you can go from gas to petrochemicals, the fertilizer, to methanol, and even to the plastic industry. You need to look across the value chain. When you look at agriculture, Bayelsa State has one of the highest, if not the highest, rainfall in the country. And when you look at the commodities, palm oil, you can go, Indonesia today relies on palm oil, Malaysia relies on palm oil. They can do the same. If you look at Singapore, Singapore is not as endowed, it's as small as Bayelsa, but it has one of the biggest petrochemical sector in the world, and they have no gas, they have no oil. Bayelsa State has gas, has oil, can become the same and more.
I just realized from your analysis, it will seem that it's a potpourri of so many issues that rather investment potential we can actually harness here in Bayelsa State. Now you're talking about agriculture, you're talking about aquaculture, you're also talking about oil and gas. It's enormous.
It's enormous.
So in other words, we can actually stay off the mono economy that we have always talked about and see how we can diversify.
Our aspiration at the federal level is that we must restructure the economy. We must diversify. That is why the president in February launched the Industrial Revolution Plan. We must add value to our commodities. The era of exporting raw materials, the era of exporting jobs, those eras are over. The focus now is about value addition, because we will remain poor as a nation. And Bayelsa will remain poor as a nation, as a state, if they rely only on raw materials, because that will not create wealth for you. It is the industrial process. History has shown us that no country has been able to move from being a poor nation to a rich nation by exporting raw materials without a strong industrial and services sector. And that's what Bayelsa State is doing.
Dr. Oganga, I would like to thank you so very much for speaking with us. Well, you just heard the Minister for Trade and Investment, Dr. Olusegun Oganga. He has been talking about the investment potential inherent here in Bayelsa State and so many other states. And he said, well, we can actually stay off a mono economy, which, a whole lot of people have always talked about when we talk about oil and gas, and, diversify. Diversification is the key here, and the governor has said that much. He also made mention of what you would want to call human capital development, because with all of the development coming into Bayelsa State, he says it is absolutely important for him to develop such to the extent that they can actually take charge of such investment potential. He's also talked about what they've been able to achieve in the education sector. Don't forget, at the start of his administration, he declared, well, a state of emergency in the education sector. Now it is yielding a whole lot. Now, well, joining us to look at all of this again is Giulio Biaggi. Well, he's going to be talking about how much of money, I think 200 million euro. 200 million euros.
Yes, 230 million.
230 million euros. Yes,
yes.
And that's what you tell us more about that and why you're so sure of that.
Yes. I am the president of Oster Trade, Engineering and Manufacturing in Budapest, and we are investing in industrial factory. For example, Bayelsa, they have a great potential in agriculture, but not only in agriculture, because they have natural gas. They have sand, they have clay, and we want to invest this $230 million euro in glass factory, in ceramic factory.
So we're talking about glass and ceramic factories.
ceramic factory, yes. And in tomato paste and palm oil processing plant.
That's a whole lot.
Yes. It's our job,
So the first time you heard about this in Budapest,
Yes.
what was your thinking like compared to what you have just seen with the Vice President starting off this particular investment forum?
Yes, we started 30 years ago in Africa, to do business. We were selling machinery for producing the soap and chemical product, Then we started with the agricultural machinery and plant to transform the raw material in the food, And then we are based in Hungary because is by case, But we came to Africa many years ago, and the first was in Cameroon. The first project was in Cameroon. Then we came in Nigeria in 1982 when the president was Shehu Shagari, and we were selling machinery for soap, producing the soap in bars, laundry soap in bars. And now we started last year in Bayelsa. We signed a contract for a processing plant from cassava to produce starch. And now the factory will be ready in a few months to produce the starch, and we are the buyer. We are not only the supplier of the machinery with the financing.
I think I'll have to talk to you pretty much later because I seem to see that we have a whole lot because the session is about to start, continue. Thank you so very much for speaking with us live on Channel Television. A whole lot we'll be having to see here. As you can see now, we'll be having, the second session start off here. It is the first Bayelsa Economic and Investment Forum here 2014, and a whole lot has been discussed, and I still would want to go back to what the Minister for Trade and Investment has said, Olusegun Aganga, that you really can see it is what you call proliferation of investment potential right here in Bayelsa State. So as proceedings continue, we'll leave you with that. I'll be back shortly.
Now, Bayelsa is big. It's very, very big. I don't know if you've read your programs, but if you have, you would notice that the Bayelsan economy is a huge economy, and it's bigger than a state's economy. If you compare the Bayelsa GDP, economic GDP, to that of the 15 countries of West Africa, or 14 countries, I suppose, minus Nigeria, you'll find that it is bigger than 12 or 13 of the other states. These are nations. So Bayelsa's economy is bigger than countries' economy in West Africa. So that is a huge responsibility, also a huge opportunity. Now, we have with us the representatives of some African countries, because it's not just international investors, it's also whole nations that are coming to Bayelsa to collaborate for a brighter future. If I may, I would like to give a few brief words of support. His Excellency Joseph Habineza. Joseph Habineza is the High Commissioner, Rwanda High Commission in Abuja. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Excellency Joseph Habineza, the High Commissioner for Rwanda, ladies and gentlemen.
Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who was ably represented by the Vice President, Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of this lovely state, Bayelsa, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor, Honorable Ministers